We're going to move on, though, to our third topic, and we're going to look at running backs. And in the CBS mock draft, we have 3 first-round running backs, kind of high, medium, and low. We've got the 4th overall pick, Leonard Fournette, going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Colts at 11, taking Dalvin Cook. And then down near the bottom, we have the Lions at 20, going towards a Christian McCaffrey. We already talked a little bit about Fournette with the Brown side. He's obviously the number 1 back in this draft class. But with Dalvin Cook and McCaffrey, these are 2 backs that have had kind of an off season this year after good 2015 campaigns.
And I don't want you to forget, of course, Royce Freeman from Oregon. He's going to Seattle Seahawks in this situation at 26. So there's 4 running backs going here. For a while, the popular talk is don't do it. Don't draft a running back in the first round. Get one of those guys later.
Who they take, Mel? Who they take, Mel?
Right?
Because Mel Kiper don't like running backs in the first round.
He doesn't. He hates it. And I don't necessarily disagree with him because you constantly see these other guys doing it, or you see the running back by committee. Of course, you can't ignore Todd Gurley 2 years ago. You can't ignore Melvin Gordon now.
Well, and that was the draft class where the Melvin Gordon one where he was like, you don't take one this early.
No. And, for Melvin Gordon a couple of years ago, you're like, I guess Mel was right. Now, I guess Mel is wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I mean, the draft ends up being a crapshoot half the time anyways. 4 running backs in the first round, hell no. It's not going to happen. No fucking way. Now, of course, we all know Fournette's going to go in the top 10. There's a good chance he's top 5. He's going to be really, really high up there.
I think that if this order plays out, this one's interesting. If this order plays out, there's a chance he might not be top 5. Only because the thing with Jacksonville that I wanted to just touch really quickly, it's going to depend what they think. Are they going to go defense? Are they going to give up on TJ Yeldon this early? Like, they got TJ Yeldon and Chris Ivory. Ivory's been hurt and ill for most of this season, so you haven't got any return on that investment, that free agent investment. Are you willing to give up on that so soon? Basically, it's how important do you think getting Blake Bortles a weapon is? And in this situation, I think that they sit with what they got. They go defense, maybe a wide receiver, even though they got 2 of those. Maybe they're not going to go tight end that high up.
No, probably not.
I think they go defense, and I think that he maybe ends up Carolina at 7, but more so, there's no way he drops out of the top 10. I would say that he would go Carolina at 7. There's no way he would go past 7. Only because the Titans have 2 running backs in DeMarco and Derrick Henry.
Yeah, although Carolina in this situation, they got a lot of things they got to fix too on that defensive side of the ball right now. Surprisingly, but that offense has got a ways to go too. Got to get some of that pressure off Cam. But anyways, no, I would definitely say 4 is too much. Fournette, sure, but we're looking at guys. We're looking at guys like Cook, who, like you're saying before, not doing as well as many people would have expected. And you can't really necessarily ignore that when you're an NFL team. You can't ignore that you had the flash and now it's trailing off, because if you go to this guy and you want him to be your featured back, a guy who's out there maybe 3 downs, maybe even just 2 downs, it makes you a little bit nervous. Now, if you can put him in a committee type of situation, or at least have somebody who's good enough to take some of the pressure off, yeah, that would be a great situation for a guy like Cook, who, I'm not saying that he needs to be in this, but who is showing that little bit of regression, or showing that maybe it was a flash in the pan year.
I think that the thing with Cook is the one where I think it's more on the team. I think Florida State's a little bit lesser. I mean, dealing with a freshman quarterback this year. The one thing I do like is I kind of like that Indianapolis spot, because Cook's a guy who can, of course, he's going to do it on the ground first, but he's a guy you can hit in the pass game as well. And when you got a guy like Andrew Luck, why not get him a running back who
Well, he needs a lot of help for sure.
He's not just a runner, but can be a receiver as well.
I mean, we can't ignore, of course, the all-purpose yards record for Cook a couple of years back, but that would definitely be beneficial for a guy like Andrew Luck. But I know there's a team out there who there's no way they're going to be at 16. But I think a team like the Green Bay Packers would love if a guy like Cook was falling like that,
especially with the Eddie Lacy injury,
but pairing up,
trade for Niles Davis, and that doesn't
pairing up Eddie Lacy with a guy like Cook is awesome.
Well, that's
a great combination.
You can have a pounder up the middle and then a speedster guy in Cook,
and that's exactly we're talking about how much it would benefit Andrew Luck, but think about how much of a benefit that'd be for the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers. We just talked about it last week when we had TK Goldsmith on the show, and he was saying that when the Packers were successful, they had a running back. Now that they don't have that good running game, they're not successful. More stuff to it, but there's a simple explanation right there. So go ahead and get that. Yeah, of course, the Green Bay Packers have quite a few things that they could shore up and get improvements on, but help out Aaron Rodgers. Get him something. Get him an additional weapon. Let the pressure be taken off of him. And that would be huge. That would be a fantastic choice right there. Like I said, I don't necessarily think that, well, I know that 4 running backs isn't going to happen. I don't even know if I can agree with 3. I'm really not sure if I can think that McCaffrey's going to be in the first round as well.
Here's the thing about McCaffrey, and I honestly think, and I feel like a broken record, but I'm going to say it again. It's early. Of course, after we dive into the film and we take a deeper look at these guys, things may change, but right now I have a weird feeling that Christian McCaffrey is going to get drafted as a running back, but converted into a wide receiver. Because if you look at his time, he's been in Stanford. Yeah, he can run the ball, but really he's been known for his receiving yards and the big catches that he has. I think that eventually an NFL team looks at him, drafts him as a running back, but then goes, you know what? You would be more well-versed as a receiver, and maybe the Lions do fit that then because they can kind of say, you know what? Maybe we don't have to have you as running back. We can have you as a wide receiver and let Stafford use you as a weapon that way.
Yeah, I mean, you could go for something like that for sure. I think injuries, of course, is a concern.
He has had a couple of those.
And when you're going in the first round, I don't know if you want to do that, especially if you're going to be a team that you want to get this guy not just as, additional help. You're getting a guy who you are hoping is going to really take the leadership role, take the feature role. And for a team like Detroit, I don't think you can just ignore those injuries. You got to have some concern there, especially when Detroit, who I know, guys, we didn't give Detroit enough love last week when we talked about the NFC North. We kind of just ignored them. But they're a team that's good. They're a team that's ready to take that next step forward. And to go in the first round and get somebody who might not be there all the time, you can never predict injuries, but at least we have a little bit more of a sure thing here. It makes me nervous for them. And I think you would want something that's going to be more sure thing, a guy you know who's going to be out there. And I just don't think you should risk it in that case.
Well, and 2 of the teams I'm looking at, and here's going to be the interesting thing when it comes to running backs. And really this goes for the entire draft, but I'm going to use it in this conversation. How many times do we think, oh, this team's going to go with this position, and then they shock us and go somewhere else?
Yeah.
What if these guys fall? And just Cook and McCaffrey. The thing about Fournette I did want to throw out there is Jacksonville at 4 could be in a situation where, hey, you know what? Why don't we field some offers? Who wants Leonard Fournette? Basically, we hold the kings to the kingdom, and if nobody bites, then we draft him ourselves, and we got the best rusher in the draft. But what if Cook and McCaffrey fall? 2 teams that I think could go out there and maybe go after them. First, the Baltimore Ravens. The thing with them is they do have Terrence West that they got over from Cleveland. They did draft Kenneth Dixon, the guy from Louisiana Tech, just last year. How do you think he's going to develop in that system? Is he ever going to be a big part of that team. And the other one being a team that hasn't had a running back in a while or has had injuries to it, the New York Giants.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe those are two teams that say, you know what? These guys are here. Let's take them.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I just kind of look at it, and I don't think that – I don't want to say that teams don't value the running back position because, of course, that's not true. But I think that right now you're going to see a lot of teams that want to give their quarterbacks weapons. You have a lot of young quarterbacks that need those weapons. You have a lot of teams that need to make splashes on defense, know that pass rusher. Because, right now the NFL is really, if it's not a quarterback, maybe not a wide receiver, it's really hot on the pass rusher. If you can get a pass rusher, someone who's going to hit a quarterback, that's what a lot of teams want to go for. So I think that it just drives down the need and the desire for those running backs to where a guy like McCaffrey, no. You're going to see those guys. A guy like Royce, I don't think we're going to see them either.
Yeah, and when you said, I totally forgot about him at the bottom, but I'm like, Royce Freeman's a guy that we thought was going to be a lot better at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. And I think your first mock drafts have a lot of that to them. Where you sit there while you're doing them and you're like, well, I thought this guy should have been better. So I'm still kind of weighing last season into it.
This is the time you pick the guys you like.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the guys that I kind of want to throw out here, this is as a dark horse who's not on this mock draft. And, kind of having a quiet season coming back from injury. I know he started out with a 200-yard game and 2 touchdowns against North Carolina. But I think as we go through, and this is all if he comes out, he's a junior, so there's not even a guarantee that he comes out. But if Nick Chubb declares for the draft, running back out of Georgia, he's a guy that I think people could look at because before he had his knee injury at the end of 2015, he's a guy that could be explosive and teams could look at, and he could definitely rise to like a late first round, early second round kind of guy.
Yeah. I don't know. When he's looking at guys like Cook, when he's looking at guys like Fournette, I don't know if he wants to clear for the draft this year. He might want to stick around. And a big part of it, of course, too, is how's his team going to do? You're definitely in competition for a national championship. You don't win it this year. Maybe you wait around and try and win it next year.
Georgia's not going to be Georgia's had a down year. They're
not getting back into the playoffs. Now, that's exactly the situation of if you wait a year, you're back in contention. Your team's going to be better next year. We all kind of, I don't want to say that everybody expected Georgia to be better, but I think a lot of people were thinking this team would at least kind of be in the hunt. Definitely not the way it's going. So next year, I think you're right back in there. So maybe you wait. Let a guy like Fournette get drafted. Let a guy like Cook get drafted. Come back next year. Do him better. Get your team to a playoffs. Make that big showcase, and then maybe you can be that guy who goes early. Maybe you'll be the number one guy next year.
Well, and you guys know the spiel. You guys let us know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Kind of spark this conversation. What do you think of the running backs early on that could be seen in this 2017 NFL draft?